Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Beatriz, and I lead tech partnerships at Vinta. I'm joined today by Flavio, our CTO, and Lais, our CPO. For those who don't know us yet, Vinta is a healthcare-focused software boutique with 13 years of experience. We partner with healthcare providers and health techs to build custom software and integrations, such as patient-facing apps, telehealth applications, custom EHRs and EMRs. And today, our agenda is pretty straightforward. We will start by sharing some context on what led us here. Then we will move forward to the paperless intake demo. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to leave your questions using the Zoom's Q&A feature for us, and then we will address them at the end. So before we jump into the demo, I wanted to start by sharing with you all a little bit of the thinking behind the intake flow that we are going to present today. So throughout the years, Vinta has built several healthcare applications. And one thing that stood out to us is how crucial and critical for this industry is time to market, especially for teams that are building under pressure to show revenue. And we started to delve deeper into the common components inside those applications and those care flows to understand how we could build better experiences faster. And that's the problem the building blocks are designed to solve. So the building blocks, they are a library of modular healthcare product foundations that we can bring inside those custom software projects to help us accelerate time to market and help us launch MVPs faster. We are building them considering the most recurring workflows from both patient and provider side. And today we are starting with intake, but you can expect to see more other workflows such as scheduling, messaging, care plan, e-prescribing, billing, and many more. And one important thing to highlight is that our team studied those care flows deeply to really bring the most advanced capabilities to each one of them, including AI features that could help with user experience and care delivery. Those building blocks, they are as a solid start points, so we don't have to build everything from scratch for our clients, but we can still customize what matters most for each client to make sure that we are building something unique that add value to their patients. So sharing a little bit more about the technical side of the things that we are going to show today, especially for the intake flow. Because we are collecting data, we needed a place to store that information, and there are several paths to do that, different EHRs and FHIR service. But for this presentation, we choose to use Medplum. Medplum is one of Vinta's closest partner. They are a headless open source EHR. So you're going to see that we are going to be saving all the information that we are collecting in their provider app. Another technology that you're going to see today is Steady. Steady is a programmable clearinghouse. They offer APIs for payer transactions, and they are the technology that you're going to see behind the eligibility check that we are going to show today. They are also Vinta's partner. And the data model behind not only the intake flow, but also all of Vinta's building blocks is FHIR. That means that all the information that we are collecting, they will be standardized and will support interoperability from day one. So to close this quick intro, Health Builders Jam is a way of sharing this work that we have been doing with building blocks with our healthcare community, clients, partners, we decided to start with intake because we understand that's where most journeys begin, right? But you can expect to see more in the next sessions. And now I'll hand it over to Lais to take us deeper into the intake process.
Hi everyone, I'm Laís, I'm Vinta CPO, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the intake experience and why we chose it as Vinta's first milestone for the building blocks. So we chose it because even in modern healthcare products, the intake is generally the first barrier to care that the patient faces. Most products, they have digitized forms, but that's not sufficient. Just having digital forms does not make it a true paperless experience. And that's a hassle for the patients, right? Because every time they go to a clinic or they reach out to a new provider, they are providing their health information, their personal information over and over again. They're generally manually inputting this and they are re-entering data that they've provided a dozen times before. And it's also a hassle on the provider side because the providers, they need to make sure that the data is precise, the data is correct, since bad intake data can lead to problems down ahead. If they have, for example, bad insurance data and they don't check for eligibility, then they can have claims denied once they get into the billing part, and that's a problem that no one wants to deal with. So what we're actually trying to solve with this is reconciliation. We want to get structured, verified data into the right place and without friction, neither for the patient or the provider. This is also a part of a broader shift that is happening in the US healthcare ecosystem. CMS has been pushing for more consistent interoperability across networks. They've launched their CMS aligned interoperability framework last year. And one of the clearest use cases that they have is the kill-the-clipboard initiative, which aims to help patients get their verified identity, their insurance, their health history into the care flows through standard-based data instead of rewriting that each time they have a new encounter. And that's where the smart health links will come in. You'll see in the demo that we are using smart health links as a key part of the intake experience. And that's because the smart health link, it allows a patient to carry their health information as a FHIR-based package that they can share via a link or a QR code. And this means that the intake can start with shared data, but the patient is still the actor. They're still reviewing all of that data. They're still validating. They can update any information that is imprecise. And they are starting from a better stepping stone. So they're not starting from a blank form. But this is, in our view, a truly paperless experience. So for us, a patient has to do, we need to do more for the patients. We need to move their information from paper into a web form, but in a structured, verifiable, reusable, and easy to exchange way that moves across their journey. So everything we're collecting in this flow, as we will show you, is modeled as FHIR and aligned with US core profiles. So the data is interoperable from the moment we are starting to capture it. I will hand over now to Flavio, our CTO. He's going to be doing the demo for you. And as Beatrice mentioned, you can ask any questions that you may have, and we'll answer those by the end.
Hello, folks. I'll share my screen to demo the application. Just a second. Okay, I suppose you can see my screen. And right now we are starting the intake flow as a patient. And the first thing the patient has to do is to put some email here. So I'll just put some random test email. And the first thing is the email because we wanted to do a passwordless experience. So first we verify the email for this patient. This is simulating an email inbox. The patient gets a code. then they are able to use that code to log in. And now we already know that the patient owns that email. So this is a simple verification. We are only verifying the email. And we are able to kickstart the intake by importing health data, or we could fill it manually, like all fields manually. So let me just click here to show you folks. So we have to fill demographics, medical history, consent, and the payment. And there's all the data that we have to fill. But if we do have a Smart Health link, we can import this health data via the Smart Health link. So the Smart Health link is a link that the patient has, and they got it from a care provider, another care provider, or even like their health wallet that already stores health records. And this is what the industry calls the patient-mediated data exchange, health data exchange, where the patient owns their health data and chooses when to share it. And I can just like paste here uh, a smart health link that I generated from some structured data. And it asks for a passcode. Usually the smart health link will be protected by a passcode, and the patient will provide that passcode to import the health records into this intake flow. Alternatively, the patient could read a QR code if they have a QR code instead of this text here with the link. And another way of importing medical records that we are implementing is via health exchanges. So we could integrate, for example, with MedReport. First, we will need to verify the patient identity. So a bit more than email, we'll need to really verify the patient identity. And after the identity verification is done, we are able to import the ref records from health information exchanges. But here we are doing a patient-mediated data sharing where the patient is sharing their data directly via the Smart Health link. And here is the data that we got from the Smart Health link. So you can see that this patient already has like this whole step field. If anything changed, like for example, I could change the weight to a new data here to continue. And then we go to the demographics. And in the demographics, we have the primary concern here. And the primary concern isn't field because that's about this current visit, this current care. It's not something historic that we are getting from the Smart Health link. And I cannot move forward from this section if I don't feel that. So all this intake flow is completely validated. So I have to fill here something like not feeling well. And I need to fill my symptoms. Everything on this intake form is standardized with FHIR and with the proper code system value sets that are standard on US core to ensure interoperability and to be able to insert this data into any certified compliant EHR. So anything that we do here, like symptoms, medications, vaccines, are using standardized code systems like LOINC, like SNOMED, like RxNorm. So every data that you have here is interoperable. And I can just like put some symptoms here. And maybe headache. So those are all like standard symptoms. And here, all the medications that we could get from the Smart Health link are here. I could change some of those, like I could change this one here, omeprazole to omeprazole. Maybe, yeah, maybe this one. And I can move forward with my allergies, chronic conditions, family history, vaccination history. So the Smart Health link contained all this data, and it was imported here on the intake form. Now we are moving to the next step, which is consent. And the consent is also a FHIR resource. We are saving all the consents here, and the current version of those consents copy into the FHIR record as well. So we know what the patient agreed to and when they agreed to. So we are building a verifiable, auditable record here. And moving forward to the payment, we are offering both use insurance or self-payment here. We could also do call payment. And the payment here is a pre-authorization of the credit card. So for example, on the self-payment, I could fill some card number here. I could fill some expiration date. And this is integrated with Stripe already. We are using a sandbox here, a fake credit card, but this is integrated with Stripe, so it's production ready already. And in terms of insurance, we are using Steady to do eligibility checks. So I could fill a sample data here, and this is a valid member ID on United Healthcare, of course, on a sandbox. And if I like put some wrong data here and try to move forward, it will say that there's something wrong with the coverage, maybe invalid ID. And this is integrated with Steady, which is our clearinghouse API. And if I just refresh here, I'll see that there is a failed eligibility check. The coverage was not determined. And if I just change to the right member ID, I could move forward with the eligibility check. So what we are doing here is we are not just collecting insurance data, we are confirming the coverage during the intake before the care begins. So we are removing a whole category of billing delays, denials due to the eligibility check directly from intake. So I could move forward here, and if I refresh here on Steady, I'm able to see that an active coverage was found. And now the intake is done. After the intake is done, the patient is able to get a Smart Health link with the data that they filled on this intake. So if they didn't have yet a Smart Health link, now they have one that they could share with other providers. So we are empowering patients with their health data. And I could fill the passcode here, generate a link, and I'll get a QR code and a link that I could share with other providers with other intakes or any other kind of workflows, care workflows. And the most important part is that all of this is done. It gets all this as structured FHIR data with standardized code systems value sets and pushes that to a EHR. So I'll demonstrate here now this data at the MedPlum provider app. So we mostly use MedPlum as our backend, as our open source EHR that we build upon. And we customize the UI and we customize all the experience for patients and providers. And here we are showing the default experience that MedPlum has, which is the open source provider side of things. And if I open up the provider app on MedPlum, let me just refresh here. I can see like all the data that we just inserted. For Jane Doe, I can see the right birth date. I can see like the gender identity. I can see the insurance here. It's showing as active, allergies, problems, medications, and the vitals. So all the data that was standardized with FHIR and code systems is now here available on this open source EHR on MedPlum. And we could integrate this data with other EHRs as well because we are building it as interoperable data from scratch by using FHIR and the proper code systems. And yeah, there we have it. It's a complete intake experience integrated with standardized, compliant, certified EHRs. And we can build upon that to add more stages, to change anything on that experience to support all the different types of care.
Thank you, Flavio. That was a great demo. So hopefully what we showed to you today was useful and maybe something that you'll have in your project in the future. This is a part of a product foundation that we're building, and we initiated with the patient journey because that's where care begins. But our goal is to build much more. For now, we did the intake in a comprehensive manner, so we tried to cover as much as possible here so that you can then customize and adapt to your needs. We're covering, as Flavio showed, the identity. We have the health data sharing, insurance payments, medical history. We included the consent, but we're continue to build. And in the next few gems that we expect to host, we'll aim to have other modules, like, for example, scheduling or a AI co-pilot. Those are some of the modules that we're working on right now. And we hope that with this, instead of rebuilding custom software from scratch, we can start with reusable modules and we can customize strategically only the parts that are specific to each client's care workflow. And this is how we're aiming to reduce time to market. We want to bring in validated workflows while still preserving the flexibility that custom software offers. So you can expect much more in the next few sessions. And our goal is to help teams move faster across every step. Hopefully we'll achieve this. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lais. If you wanna make sure you register for the next sessions, please don't forget to follow Vinta on LinkedIn. And if you are interested in bringing any part of this intake flow to your operation, feel free to reach out to us through our website. Our marketing team is gonna drop those links on the chat real soon. And yeah, let's move forward for the Q&A. I see that we have a couple of questions. Our marketing team is going to share with us in a minute.
Hello, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Roger. I'm from Vinta, and I'll be reading some of the questions you dropped here. Well, first one is what authorization and access controls ensure you can only fetch the right patient's data? And how do you handle consent and HIPAA's requirement?
I guess I can answer this one. So if this is about the Smart Health Link, the Smart Health Link holds the data that the patient shows. Here on this workflow that I showed, we just generating the full Smart Health Link, but the plan is to provide a patient portal where the patient can build different kinds of Smart Health links. So they could, for example, choose a subset of data to be shared with a certain link and another subset with another. So the patient could control that and share this data with different providers if they want. Smart Health Link is quite straightforward. Like it is a standard. It isn't something that we invented. It's something that CMS is pushing healthcare organizations to implement as well. And the protection is basically the passcode. The link as well can be is cryptographically secure. There are like different kinds of verifiable information there that we could detail more perhaps in another moment. But in terms of how what should be shared, that's what the patient controls. And the idea is to provide a UI for the patient to control what's shared on each link. And in terms of HIPAA compliance, this is more about all the software stack being HIPAA compliant and that's what we usually do at Vinta, like anything that we use, the databases, like all the infrastructure. So for example, MedPlum is a certified EHR and it's HIPAA compliant from day one if you use the cloud solution. That's provided by basically everything that we use, and Vinta is a business associate as well that works with covered entities. So I guess like it's more about making sure everything's all right on both the infrastructure side of things and the bureaucratic side of things.
That's great. Well, moving on to the next question. Here it is. In our intake flow, patients only enter payment information at checkout after the service is provided. Can the platform's workflow be customized to support that order of steps, letting us rearrange stages to fit how we actually operate?
Yeah, I
Yes,
can
like,
answer. Oh, go ahead, Flavio.
yes, sorry. Yes, like what we chose is just a sample. Like we could support different kinds of workflows. And this is only a eligibility check. And also in the case of the credit card payment, it's only a pre-authorization. We are not charging directly there. But since we are using Stripe, we could charge at any moment and any kind of workflow that's implemented on the provider side of things.
Yeah, and just to complement what Flavio mentioned, our idea, our vision, it was that the intake as a whole is a module, but each step on it is also a module. So everything is composable. You can rearrange, shift, and change and customize to however you like. We also made it comprehensive in case you have like less steps in your flow. Flavio mentioned a bit about the billing that we're not charging, we're just checking for eligibility. But we could, if you have a service that has a fixed price, we could be charging, or if there's copay, that's a flow that we also want to cover.
And in terms of like how fast we can adapt the modules, we are not like we are using AI skills to help us customize the modules. So we are reviewing all the code. We are making sure everything is correct. We are like aiming for high quality code and high quality UX. But we do enable fast iteration on customizing the modules. So in technical terms, we are building everything really as building blocks in the sense that we have a design system, we have all the components are independent and they can be combined in different ways. And AI help us to like kickstart things. And we have a set of AI skills to assist with that.
Great. Another question that just dropped here. So in study, you use coverage eligibility instead of discovery? Is that right?
Yeah, right now we are using the eligibility check.
Great. And the last one. I already have my own FHIR server back in our EHR. Can we use just the paperless intake flow as a front end, sending data to our existing backend?
Yes, so this is a FHIR frontend compatible with any kind of FHIR backend. So if you have another kind of FHIR compatible EHR, we can write to those. There may be gotchas like some of the resources that we are using in this intake example might not be writable in some of the larger EHRs, but the basic information is usually writable, and we could use that to power an intake on more traditional EHRs. And if you have a FHIR server, yes, we can just use that instead of Matplum. We recommend Matplum if you are building like the full patient provider experience, because Matplum is an open source tool that we know. It has a cloud offering that speed ups things on the infrastructure side of things and compliance side of things. But if you do have a FHIR server already, we could use that as the front end for it.
Great,
Perfect.
that's it. Final question.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. It was a pleasure. I hope you can make it to the next session. And that's it. Thank you.